Appearance for the first and second time. There will be a second portion later in the evening. So anybody wishing to speak on any issues, please raise your hand. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'd like to talk about the Fenimore dump, not landfill, because if it were a landfill, it would have mitigated some of the leachate problems, but unfortunately it's not a landfill, it's a dump.
For the record, can I get your name and address?
Oh, Paris Palace, 3 Conner Street, Sakasana. I'm going to tell you a little story. A little story that is a situation that occurred in the early 1900s, and the government and the people were involved, and they made decisions that backfired. No one wanted these situations to backfire, but it did. We have a situation out in the Midwest where the ranchers and farmers were all complaining that all of the predators were killing their livestock. And they appealed to the government asking, please, give us the permission to hunt the predators because they're killing all of our livestock. And our chickens, our goats, our sheep, our cattle, everything is being killed and eaten by the predators. So they did. The government said, yeah, you know what, we should do something because we need to help these people. Well, then everyone went about killing all the predators. Now you have prey. The prey, obviously, are no longer, the population is no longer controlled by the predators because the predators are all dead. The predators are all dead. So now the prey grew to unbelievable populations. Now you've got deer being the #1 herbivore, the prey of the predators, that has populated to the point where it was 10,000 deer to over 100,000 deer. So what happened? Now all the farmers are upset and they're devastated in the ranchers because all of their gardens were eaten, all the grasses were eaten by the deer, and the whole environment was decimated, destroyed by the prey. Do you think that the government wanted this to happen? Do you think that people wanted this to happen? No. They made a decision, a very hasty decision, without thinking about what would the ramifications be, or the repercussions of those actions be. And I think that this is very similar to what is happening here. You have a government program called DEP. You have Governor Christie, who I think everyone's afraid of, and he wanted a solution, so he gave it to the DEP, and the DEP rushed to decisions without really thinking of the ramifications of what would happen of their decisions, which are obviously not good. Because to this day, what they've done is they capped, and the air results on a daily basis are outrageous and unbelievably high. You have leachates that are seeping into the ground and the water system that are unbelievably high and killing all water aquatic organisms. And you have people that are sick on a daily basis. Do I think that the DEP intentionally did this, made this decision because they really want us to suffer? No. But I do blame the fact that the DEP made decisions without really researching and trying to foresee the future of what their decision is going to make, how it's going to affect us. And unfortunately, it has affected us. And it's time for you, because you are our voted representatives. We voted you because all of us are busy. We really didn't want the job. But you guys chose the job. And you have a job that we voted for you to do something about this. The DEP has made decisions that are wrong, that are devastating. And it's time for everybody, especially in your area, because you have voted, you have elected to do this job, to fight for the right thing to do.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else in the public wish to be heard, please raise your hand. Yes, ma'am.
Kathy Hart, 12 Summit Lane, Sakasana. I guess the first question I would like answered is, since there's so few of us, and I know some people have a lot of questions, if you would waive the 3-minute limit. I understand why it was necessary when there are a lot of people here, but in the interest of being able to, I hear all of the concerns of the community. I would ask that you would allow people more time.
On the second
within
go
a
around, I
reasonable-
think we might, but we have other business to get to, and we want to make sure that we get to that in a timely fashion as well, so.
But this is an issue that the constituents really want to be heard, and I don't see why there's not that many of us. And I don't want to
understand. I thought
belabor
the
the point
constituents
because I have, but I think that it would, in the interest of fairness, if you are our representatives and we are here asking for your help, that everybody's concerns should be fully aired. The next thing that I want to say is that before the storm even hit, I got an alert from the township about possibility of a power outage and what to do in that case. And it made me think about why there are no alerts going out for when the high levels of hydrogen sulfide are reading on the monitors. And so I thought I know that the reason that we hear from you is that, well, we have to check to see if it's accurate or whatever. But the thing is that I don't see why you can't send out the alert, say that there has been a high reading noted at this level, at this location, and that at this time we wanted to let you know we're investigating it, and that the symptoms of what people may experience from their exposure, like headache and dizziness and nosebleeds, and a number to call in case they are experiencing that. Because to not send out any alerts when there's these high readings, and from what I'm reading, there's been a significant amount of high readings with no alerts being issued. And so I'm asking, would you be willing to do that? Send out that message to people that this is a reading that we have and we're investigating it, but you should know. Would you be willing to do that?
At this point in time, I can tell you that we put in some secondary protocols to check because we know we had some monitor issues which have not been going off lately. But I don't want to get into great detail with those because hopefully in the next couple days we'll have that posted for you.
But the
online.
ATSDR did say that people should be notified when there was a high level, even if you weren't sure. So I'm just asking why.
We're going to be
It
discussing
seems
these
to
with
me to be
ATSDR as well.
reasonable. Would anybody speak to that? Any member of council speak to whether they believe that's a reasonable request, that warning go out to people, and then you can always issue a follow-up. I mean, I got a warning that I could possibly lose my power before a snowflake ever fell, which is fine. I think it's great to be proactive, but I don't understand in a situation like this, which I consider to be much more serious, that you're not willing to send out that alert to people. Say, it's not a definite, we're investigating it, but this is what our monitor's reading. Would anybody agree that that's
Like I
a reasonable
said,
request?
we'll be issuing additional protocols, but we have had people go to the sites when those readings have come up.
Could any other member, Fred, do you think that's reasonable? I mean, you represent the area where Jefferson School is, right? And I think they have a lot of high readings over there. Wouldn't you want them to be aware? The children to be aware, the parents to be aware?
I think it's a question of whether or not you think it's a true health issue at this particular point. We've had our professionals look at this. They're preparing some documentation that they're going to be able to post on behalf of everybody out here.
But
we've
the
had some
ATSDR
really
has said
false.
that we should issue those warnings. They said that you
Short
should.
of any
and
other
it's not-
protocols,
But
if you read the letter.
Yeah. Here's the issue: is it really an issue with the devices, or is it something that's really happening on the site? And we're just waiting for. We've got all of our professionals working on this thing right now. We have.
But to me, it seems like you're just rolling the dice with people's health, and
Well-
so, like I said, you did
It's not
something
right.
preemptive. You did a preemptive thing with the snowfall, with this. Like, why not do a preemptive, and then people can decide. You know what? If I had small children and I got that call, I'd say, well, I'm keeping my kids inside today. I think people deserve to know that,
Okay.
so they can make their own call. Like, okay, maybe it's real, maybe it's not real, but it's kind of like, maybe there's a shark in the water, maybe there isn't. So if I hear a sighting, I'm not going to go in. I mean.
Kathy, another thing that's happened up there also, in addition, when these things have happened, we've had people go up there immediately to see if they, just in general, just smell anything that's up in that area. So, and they haven't been able to, Chris, can you?
Including some handhelds at some of the
handhelds
stations
and
and something like that. So
But
we've been very proactive, and in the letter, and again, we'll get you more concrete step-by-step things, but the letter from ASTDR did say to send the alerts, short of any other protocols put in place to verify, you know, if it's actual or not. So that's, again, if
Are
you
you
read that letter.
testing for any other gases? Because I've also been reading that there could be other gases which are
I don't have the
causing
complete list of the gases that are tested by that monitor at this point in time.
But we need to know this information because I know that people
I
have
believe
been
it
feeling
was out there in
sick.
the
And
past, so, but thank you very much for your comments.
this is why I asked if we could have the extension of the time.
I
because
actually let you
there
go
are
6
more
minutes,
things.
Ms. Hart.
But, all right.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public wish to be heard on any issue, please raise your hand. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Laurel Whitney, 7 Longfellow Drive in Sakasana. One of your larger property taxpayers here. I just wanted to agree with a lot that Kathy said about the alerts. And better safe than sorry. You can rescind the alert later saying it was a false alarm. But I hear with the weather forecast, everybody was criticizing the forecasters, saying, oh, they were wrong, they were wrong. They said, we'd rather people be prepared and have it not happen than not prepared and have it happen. I think we're in the same situation here, where it would be best to let people know what's going on and the potential hazards, and then once you check it out, once you research it, then if it was a false alarm, you can send an alert saying, go back outside, let your children play, no need to worry. Another concern of mine was that I keep hearing that there's problems with the monitors and problems with the scrubber. What kind of actions have you taken with the manufacturers or service providers of these pieces of equipment to allow them to be more reliable?
They have swapped them out, and then they've also put redundancies in place to check different things. That's when you notice we haven't had any alerts this past week. So.
Mayor, they also,
Wait.
they've also done some research on the monitors at the township's request because of these infrequent readings. But what they found is that electrical charges can sometimes cause the monitors to post a false reading for a short period of time if there's a surge, because that's how the monitors measure the gases, through an electrical impulse. And what they did for Roxbury 6, which was one of the monitors that we were having a problem with, is they rewired Roxbury 6 last Friday, put a new monitor in, and we haven't had any instances since then. So they are constantly working on this. I can tell you I've had conversations with both Bob Zelli and Mr. Groves, our 2 experts in this area, and they are absolutely confident that these errant readings are not in any way, shape, or form related to the landfill. In fact, Bob Zelli has been at the landfill and investigated the landfill in regard to the times when some of these errant readings were recorded. And at those times, the scrubber was operating efficiently. There were no problems reported at the landfill, and the landfill is monitored 24/7. So they would be the first ones to know if, in fact, there was an issue. So both experts are extremely confident that these are errant readings and that they're not coming from the landfill. In fact, they've gone so far to check wind direction and a couple of other things during these times, and have been able to show through scientific data that the wind wasn't even coming from that direction. So.
Now, you mentioned electrical surges were part of a problem with one of the monitors. Is there a backup system in case of a prolonged power outage for both the scrubber and the monitors everywhere?
The scrubber has a backup generator. I'm not sure about the monitors.
The monitors in some cases do have battery packs, and also they're attached to generators as well too, depending on the location. In addition, every time there's an alert, I call to the landfill, which is operating 24/7, talk to the personnel there. They do hand monitoring. they tell me, as Mr. Bucco indicated, which direction the wind's blowing and whether any odors are detected as well too. So no matter what time it occurs, we call up there. I call up there and find out what's going on.
And many, just so you know, many of these instances are for an extremely short period of time. So if the township were to send out an alert, the alert would no sooner be sent out than a second alert would have to be sent out. So it would become extremely confusing to residents. And like we said, we've done extensive research, our experts have done extensive research, and they are extremely confident that these errant readings are not a result of landfill.
Has there been alerts that were issued over the Honeywell system in the last year?
Oh yes, yeah. Back when we were getting real emissions from the landfill, there were alerts going out on our, you said Honeywell, I'm sorry.
Or whatever
Yeah, the
your
township
alert
system,
is.
yes.
Yeah.
We've been using our system to open up the respite center on a regular basis before the cap was in and before the emission system was in place and everything was working. Absolutely.
And you mentioned there was battery backup systems on some of the monitors.
Correct.
Do you know how long that battery operates?
I don't know, but I can try and get you the answer to that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the public wish to be heard on any issue, please raise your hand. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, you took my podium away. Kathy Panetta, 14 Merchant Avenue in Ledgewood. I just need a little clarification on this because I wasn't a science major. The landfill's being monitored 24/7. What does that mean?
I believe he's talking about the people that are actually working on that are managing the scrubber, not the DEP or the people covering.
It's the Handex staff.
Handex.
The Handex staff, do they have handheld monitors that they're double checking these readings with?
They do, yes.
Because when you keep saying they don't smell anything, we all know olfactory fatigue is side effects, so that's a moot point. Nobody's going to smell anything. We don't smell anything when it's in the thousands anymore.
But if you remember, Ms. Panetta, early on, they talked about high readings, and they said readings like this would just, it's not about smell, it would just knock you out.
And I've also read that certain people detect certain things at different levels. So the handheld, I believe, would collect data without relying on human error or the way a human being is made. So they do have handhelds when there's a spike or a high reading that's consistently going on for a few hours, and they're checking it up there all around and verifying that it's not going on, that it's wrong.
I'm not sure.
It's gone on for a few hours.
Yeah,
yes.
Left, yeah.
Yeah.
This afternoon, they've all over town pretty much, they've been between 10 and 12. And there were spikes last week that we were posting that were like ridiculous.
But the spikes last for a very short period of time, and then it goes right back down to
It takes hours to get back down.
No,
it doesn't.
doesn't.
not necessarily. But anyway, what Mr. Bucco indicated in regards to the spikes, they have come in and Kathy and they've come in and determined that those are not coming from the landfill, that there was an electrical issue which they believe they have resolved.
So they check it with the handheld. You can verify that with me from somebody from Emilcott has put that in writing, right? You're getting reports, I would imagine.
I call up there every time there's an alert. So.
Not Emilcott.
No, I call Handex.
They call Handex. So Handex is doing that. And you told me last month that you put somewhere what you get in return proving that everything is fine, a report or an email from them or a monitor reading verifying that it's just fine, it's just an electrical charge. Can we see any of that again?
Again, I call up there and I make the determination. I don't have a report for each incident that comes in. This is the first we've talked about the electrical charge. Okay.
But we had readings like this last winter. Electrical charges only happen in the winter?
I don't recall that at this time. Okay, I know that we've had monitors that have gone up, but not like they were the last couple of weeks.
We've asked Emilcott to do a thorough review of their system. We didn't want to hear things like the cold, which they say does. The cold has a bigger impact and effect on the machinery itself. We didn't want to just have hearsay. We're trying to get something documented and in writing so we could share that with you so you're more comfortable with the information than just hearsay. So we're working on getting that information to you.
So I'm sorry, just tell me who's gonna give me the information and when we're gonna see it and where?
Hopefully, we'll supply the information that we retrieve from our professionals.
Your professionals, I'm sorry,
Meaning
Handex is the people,
Emil Cotton Zelli, Bob Zelli.
and Handex is the person running the scrubber?
Correct.
The DEP.
Yeah, they're a subcontracting agent of the DEP. Those are the people, Kathy, that actually are in charge of the scrubber unit at the site. And those are the people that Chris is calling when there's issues.
Okay, so Handex made the scrubber and they're running it?
They didn't make the scrubber, they didn't manufacture the scrubber,
They're
but
just-
they're there to run it.
They were the first
Oversee.
ones on site when they put it up. They don't have anything to do with the capping.
Okay, and you have Zelly to double check their information to make sure it's accurate?
He has been, yes.
So Zelly has handheld readings to verify?
He does not have handheld readings, but he's gone to the site and reviewed the records and spoke to the people operating the scrubber and has verified through science, wind direction and those type of things at the time that these spikes occurred.
I just want to see a handheld reading to verify that there's no gas there. Just another,
Well, like even the monitors, by time the spike, because I think you were mistaken that these are staying for a long period of time. They're not. They're going up and they're coming back down. By the time somebody gets out there, according to the actual monitor on site, it's gone.
you said there's somebody up there 24/7
No,
that's
no, no. I'm
checking
talking
these.
about at the monitor. When he's talking about Handex, he always tries to get a secondary follow-up to see if there's any gases being leaked.
I'm sorry, I see what your issue here is.
I'm getting more confused.
No, I don't want you to get confused. Let me try to help you out. Handex is on site. They're right next to the scrubber.
Okay.
The actual monitor itself, you know, is a little ways away. I mean, you gotta go out,
Right,
you gotta go to another location.
Right.
So Chris is calling them up when this is happening, and obviously, if they have to get to that location, it may take 5 or more minutes. And what everybody's saying here is at that time, the spike is coming down.
So at 2 or 3 in the morning, Chris, you're watching for these? Do you have
I
an
get a
alarm?
text. I get a text.
God.
I get a text
I
that
don't know,
wakes
you
me
can
up.
sleep.
It's been,
Okay.
it works.
Thank you, Ms. Spinetta.
But I think I think the mayor's right. A lot of the questions you're bringing up may be addressed in the report from
Yeah,
our
I think that'd be the best way.
I'm
I think
sorry,
that's the
that's
best.
what I was,
To
we're
eliminate
getting
the
a report.
hearsay. Well, we're working on the report from our professionals that we will get to you as soon as possible. We've been working on it for weeks and trying to get the information. In fact, I had a conversation with Mr. Bucco this evening, so.
So the professionals are giving you a report. The professionals being
To
Zelly
explain.
and
Emil Cotton.
Endicott. And you're gonna put it where and when?
We'll post it on the website like we have with all the other information,
When?
as soon as we get it. We're working on it. I wish we had it already, quite frankly. I had that discussion today. But
Maybe by the next council meeting?
hopefully long before the
Well,
next
it'll be
council
long
meeting.
before the next council meeting.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public wish to be heard? Please raise your hand. Yes, sir.
Carl Panetta, 14 Avenue. I was in technology for a long time, and I have to ask, when we talk about the meters and the spikes, however big they are for a short period of time, Mr. Bucco, I know what you're talking about. However, and you can look at this the same way as we used to do when I was working for an electronics company. I'd be working with the engineer and I said, oh, I look on the scope and I see the output of the instrument and it's got a big spike on it, but I only saw it once. So it's okay. And a good engineer, a great engineer would say, there's got to be something wrong. If you saw something once, it's got to be there again. And then when you do see it, we go back and we look. And the same thing, I don't think it's hard. We got a computer at home. Does the man up at the site have a computer looking at all when the spikes happen? Just like somebody's going to get robbed, right? You put a camera up and you're looking at all the doors. I think we have that here. Do we have that up at the site?
We have
Yeah,
readings. I mean, we have here. There's readings of every.
Just like what we see. Just like what we see.
That's available for you.
Okay, so shouldn't he be looking at that? And it says number 6 keeps spiking. Well, maybe I should take, before you even get a call, he should be down there. And I know it's coming about this stuff, but they come back. They don't stay away. I don't even have your data, because I don't look at it, and I couldn't remember anyway. But if you got that data out there, he should be, and if you need more than one person, go different places. Those spikes are made for a reason. They're not just there because, oh, my equipment's screwed up. And if your equipment's screwed up, that's the other thing. When I was working and I saw something, first thing they asked me is, how do you know the equipment's working? When was the last time it was calibrated? If there's a problem with it, maybe we should get you another piece of equipment. Maybe a second monitor sits right next to it and see what they both do. If we're not doing all those things, I don't, Mr. Bucco, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying.
You're right, you're right.
I hear what you're saying about the
So we
spikes.
actually are doing those things.
We're doing those, just about all those.
Wait, you're not doing, I don't think you're doing any of those things. Do you have another meter, like
Yeah.
the one that's up there?
Yes.
You go,
Yeah, yeah, they
for
put,
each time?
they
It's not
put-
only Rock 6.
No, can I finish?
Yeah.
When Rock 6 started to have the initial error and spikes, they went in and put a second meter right next to that meter.
Yeah, and what happened? Did you let it sit there until the spike
Yeah.
came back?
Yeah,
And this
they-
spike came back?
yeah, and they've been off. That's why they did,
Okay.
that's why they took to the next step.
And those,
And they started
But-
doing
but
research on the
you-
meters themselves to figure out how they calibrate and how they read. And in fact, that's what they found out.
But you said something really important there. You said the other meter found the spike.
No.
That's what you said? I just said,
No,
did you
the other
find the spike?
meter
You
did
said
not
no.
find the spike.
Oh, so you're saying that,
That's when they started to look at
Yeah,
how the meters read.
that's, what
but
we're,
that spike came from somewhere. Just like when I'm working on a piece of equipment, I'll give it even easier for you guys. You got a TV set, you're watching your TV, and all of a sudden, it blinks. And I do this with Kathy all the time. The TV set blinked. Well, I never saw it blink, so it can't be a problem.
Carl, we're working on, we agree with you. And that's why I said to what Kathy before, I said that's why we're having them work on all these things, because we didn't want to sit here and just say, he said this and he said that. We're trying to document all those things through the various avenues that you just mentioned. And we're hoping to have that sooner than later, because we've been working on it for a couple of weeks now, to identify what's causing those spikes, so we can rationalize it to you.
Okay, so you're saying to me, because not only Rock 6, it's a lot of the meters up there, all of them don't do it, but some of the meters do that. So when that happens, and it's been happening quite frequently, because you guys can look at the numbers, you have more than one meter, we can put one over here next to that one, and one over here next to that
We
one.
had one jump up one time while they were there, and it was a diesel truck that created.
You know, well, you guys said that, but whatever. Okay, I got one other question that's very important to me, and maybe for the people who are sitting here. Now, it has to do with, you guys can't make up this information, and that is the stream is polluted. You guys all know that, and that's something that you guys can't put over here and say, oh, I don't smell it, or oh, the meters aren't working right, or oh, there's a problem. So my question to this council, like that lady said before, you guys are here working for us. What are we going to do now that we know that it's polluted and it's because of our illustrious dump?
But we do have our environmental commission looking at it. They have been reviewing it. The last 3 years have been the same number.
There's been more to the report than that, Mr. Mayor.
Pardon me?
There's more to it than just that one number you're going to allude to. It's very, very poor. And you were probably at the last meeting that we had at the Highlands Commission, and you were out of the room, but I'm sure you heard it. You heard what the one man came up and said. We have a huge problem. So what are you gentlemen going to do? You can say whatever you want now about the meters, but this is real. The stuff coming down here that's polluting our river is real. And there's no doubting it. And it's coming from up there, because the water on the other side that's coming down is clean. So, gentlemen,
I can tell you that we're monitoring it. Our environmental commissioner is monitoring it. I was speaking to the liaison earlier today. There's some things that have happened on site on the mountain at the dump that they feel might improve it, because you got to remember, everything was just running for the last several years. There was no retention, no nothing, and a lot of that has been put into place now. So, we're going to watch it. We're going to watch it very closely.
wait a minute, who's going to watch it? Not the DEP, I hope.
Well,
Who's going to watch it?
right now,
I think
our
that-
environmental commission is doing it.
Okay.
They've been very good at doing these types of monitorings throughout the township on many streams, ponds, etc.
Well, I hear what you're saying, but and Kathy's gonna get mad at me when I say this, but I don't want to hear that once the right scrubber is working, the newest one, or whatever it is, whiz-bang machine, and the cap is completed, it's like the water in your house, run it a little bit, and then all of a sudden, everything will be fine. I don't want to hear that, because that's an excuse that you can use, but don't, because it's more to it than that. And we all know that, I think.
Thank you, Mr. Panetta.
You're more than welcome.
Anybody else in the public wish to be heard on any issue, please raise your hand. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Bob Schultz, Randolph. Is there any update on Fenimore? Any update?
From our last meeting, I don't believe there's been anything changed other than what we're working on that we just spoke about with the protocols and the
report.
issues with the monitor, to see if there was anything.
Is the new scrubber up and running, or
No.
I didn't attend last meeting, so.
No, it's not.
Do they have a plan for that, or?
Yeah, they plan to put a new one up.
I know they do. Is there a time frame? Or?
The last I heard it was potentially February.
Isn't it the oxidizer that's going up there?
Yes, yeah.
Oxidizer, excuse me. Yeah.
Good pickup here, yeah, thank you.
Is there any reason why the township hasn't tested the water in the last 2 years? Because the last time we as the township tested it was January of 2013. And I know I had brought that up a few other times in the course of the last 2 years. And I know the DEP also has done their own testing, but why isn't the township?
Actually, I thought, I'll check, but I thought we had more recent than that. We tested one, and we also tested sediment. But if we had, I actually asked them after the last meeting to test both Ledgewood Basin in the stream. They couldn't get into the basin because it's frozen over. So I did ask.
The basin's been monitored on a regular basis, I know that.
I know.
For many years.
Yeah, for many years.
So,
You know that.
and I'll offer again to any resident, the test we do is an actual VOC testing, and it actually tests for chemicals. So any resident, we are continuing to offer those for free as well too.
Does that include heavy metals as well?
Yes, it does.
I was just specifically talking about the streams. I know you guys do it for the residents.
So we'll continue to do that.
And the pond, we've always done, you were on by the Environmental Commission, that was done yearly, at least yearly, right?
Yeah, but nothing.
We increased the frequency when the residents started having concerns about it.
Prior to that, was it?
I don't know, I'd have to go back and check.
The last time that I know of is January of 2013. Nothing was done by the township last year at
I think there
all.
was something after that, but
Let's not get into guesswork.
And if there was, then it wasn't posted up there, so. Do you know if the monitors are going away anytime soon?
Not that I'm aware of, but I know as things become capped, I know I've been hearing what you've been hearing, but we'll see. There's been no formal dialogue at this point in time that I'm aware of, unless something's taking place that I'm unaware of.
Because that's the residents', first line of defense. And I know the monitors have caused some issues with the spikes, and I'll add a quick question about the spikes as well. So it's kind of, for you guys, a double-edged sword, but for the residents, it's certainly their first line of defense of what's going on. For a short duration spike you guys were talking about before, are you talking just the one up and coming down? Is that what you meant by short duration?
Well, there have been a couple of occasions prior to what Emmacott did last Friday where you had a spike and then a little while later you have another spike.
So like one and then another one?
I don't know the time frames, but I'm sure you've looked on the computer as well, the screen as well too. So, but that was prior to what was done on Friday.
It was like there was one from, I just was looking through my screen captures, and here's one from the 8th of January of this year on Rox.
Which monitor is that?
On Rox 8, which is the one by the entrance, which lasted, and it wasn't just one, it was all over the place between 2700 and downwards, for 40 minutes.
And I can tell you at that time, first of all, Rox 8, they went up and did some work on Rox 8, and I think it's been quiet for several weeks now. But at that particular event, the wind was blowing the exact opposite direction of Rox 8 at that time as well too, so, from the landfill.
And I'm not going to argue, but if I remember, we were looking at that, which way the wind was blowing that day, and it was blowing. So,
Okay.
And we were going by the wind direction, I think, on that monitor, on that base station, so. So to us, it seems like these spikes are real. I certainly have smelled hydrogen sulfide multiple times in the last month and a half in traveling back to Roxbury, traveling on 80. I've called it in, so it still does exist.
Is it
out
west of, we're on 80, west of exit 30,
Which one's exit 30? Sorry.
Howard Boulevard?
Howard Boulevard.
It's usually going up the hill, or at the top of the hill,
So
right
towards-
before the
Right.
206.
Towards Mount Olive, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
or right before 206.
There's a smell coming from something other than that that's been going on for a number of years. I've actually gotten a few calls on it. I know there's a factory that made perfume and things like that in the trade zone.
In Mount Olive.
Yeah, in Mount Olive. So I think there may be some smells that might be associated with that, because I've had, and I'm going back a number of years where it's just every now and then I get a call, I've been smelling it for years, even before the dump, and that's carried over. So I think sometimes that's associated, but that's just, again,
It's certainly
speculation.
It's certainly possible, and it could also be the dump. I mean, I've also smelled it at the bottom of basically where Sussex Turnpike goes off, you know, at the bottom of the hill there off of 10, so right by the barn. Multiple times I was actually eating there, and you know, as we got out of the car, it was the same thing. So
Never heard it that far.
you never smelled it that
Yeah, I
far.
really haven't.
I smelled it at my house all the time. It's only another half a mile. I lived right next to the high school, so
Yeah.
on a direct line, you're really not talking that much further. And my theory is that it's going over the monitors, or maybe it's hitting the monitors or whatever, but it's hitting the base of that mountain, and it does pool around water. That's a proven fact, that the smell, the hydrogen sulfide smell pools around water, and there's that, you know, the 3 lakes right there, so.
Street,
I'm sorry.
Marion Emery, 3 Canal Street, Ledgewood. First I'd like to know, why is none of the council returning our emails?
Well, in regards to, I've gotten some emails, and I was going to encourage folks to call me. It's probably a better way to communicate. You can call my office, 973-448-2003, or 973-219-0617 is the cell, should you prefer to do it that way. I can tell you that we're waiting for, as the mayor has said, we're waiting for information that we can pass along through our website from our experts, so that everybody gets the same information at the same time. So that's why I've gotten several emails that I have not responded to over the last couple of weeks.
Also, I would like to know, our taxes. We recently got our tax bill. Has Fenimore been a decision on how much taxes we're going to pay?
No.
Has that been,
Actually, the first year taxes went up, the municipal taxes went up 0.
but have
2
our
years ago.
taxes gone down any because of it?
Gone down any? No. It was a financial strain on us, without question. We had, you know, Mr. Rass put some austerity measures in place in Town Hall and tightened the belts more than we already have, which we were pretty well known for. And
So how much
so
of
it's
it,
difficult. Now we're getting reimbursed from the state for much of the monitoring, et cetera. Litigation obviously goes beyond that. And, you know, as we've always said, it's sad that we were not part of the process to bring it here or take it over, yet it's cost us money. So, and we're still looking to try to find ways to get reimbursed for some of that.
and are our taxes going to go up because of this?
As of right now, no. No, we're doing our budget process now. You're welcome to come. It's on Tuesday nights as well. It's advertised in the calendar. We encourage people to come. And you can see how stingy we are. We have a very open process. And we literally go department to department. In fact, we went through several last week.
Okay, and as far as the monitors, I'm not understanding this. You're saying that the monitors are not working correctly?
No, the monitors are usually working fine, but there have been anomalies and or times where it needed to be, as the gentleman in the back pointed out, either recalibrated, replaced, different things. I mean, it is technology, and you know.
Because if the
so-
monitors are being that much of an issue, shouldn't we get another company or different monitors?
To the best of our knowledge, at this point, it's one of the preeminent companies doing this type of thing, and to have the live feed online is something I don't know it's been done anywhere else. We've been very proactive to try to give you as much information as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public have anything? please raise your hand. Seeing none, we'll close the public portion. That'll move us to reports of council liaison.
Hello, Kathy Panetta again. I just want to go over my notes, make sure. If you don't mind, if I could finish them so that I'm not mid, and then I'm saying, thank you, Mrs. Panetta. By the way, a lot of us signed a petition for Trader Joe's to ask them, please put them to come into the Ledgewood Mall, because we're all brokenhearted about Macy's, and we have such happy memories of going to see Santa and having a good time in the mall. Our kids were really, we're pulling, I even petitioned the Christmas tree shops when they were coming to come to town. All right, so I had read information on the monitors on the site where they're made, and it said that they need to be switched out and exchanged and recalibrated at their company when gases are too high, and they will pick up other gases such as methane, and then they need to be calibrated and cleaned out. So that could be happening. The spikes, from what you're saying, that are occurring are pretty much anomalies. There's a second monitor by Rock 6 that had a different reading, and we think that it's electrical charges. I have to tell you, when the DEP was coming by to do handhelds, when we were calling a couple years ago, I was smelling it. At that point, I could smell 1 part per billion. They were picking up 15, and I was 2 feet away, and I couldn't smell anything, and they were getting a 0. So the way the gas flows, you can have a monitor right next to, within feet of one, and the way that the heavy gas flows like little streams, you won't pick it up. You really need to do a handheld sweep to get a good perspective of where the gas is and what's going on. With the sustained readings all over town that today were pretty much between 10 and 12, at Jefferson, the Ryder Road Field, and Kenville Weldery are not due to the dump. We're working on getting more soccer in towns and Ryder Road, Horseshoe Lake activity despite those readings over there. And I know that at 20 parts per billion, the ATSDR and Robert Wood Johnson both said you need to stop soccer games, it's not good for kids. But I'm not quite sure where that stands if we're not sure if the monitors are reading anything accurate. There's no more alerts for spikes because they're basically anomalies. There are no more emails being returned because we're waiting for a report. If you have any questions, call Mr. Ravs. The report should be up in a couple weeks on the Township website, along with the water testing that it's been done since January 2013. Okay, did I get all that?
I believe so.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Panetta?
Yeah.
In terms of the Trader Joe's request, if you could send a copy of that letter to myself and...
You know, it comes in a form.
Uh-huh.
It's like one of those things you get on email where you petition something.
Would you mind sending
I'll
us
see if I can find it.
or just a note about
We
your
were
interest?
circulating around our own sites and around the Fenimore site.
Because there's an economic development committee that I serve on with Councilman Barron's and Councilman Crowley, and we're actively trying to get businesses to come to Roxbury. And if residents were interested in particular kinds of businesses, that would be very helpful to us. So, and we may be able to help too in terms of perhaps even sending a note from the town.
Whole Foods was another one we were trying for.
Yeah, I think that's probably a great idea. My wife has mentioned those to me many times about having them come. So
we're trying.
Yeah,
we shoot for Rockaway, but we're trying.
Yeah, right now, a lot of the issues on that particular site are the owners of the site.
The legal issues.
That's what I heard, because they own Sports Authority and whatnot, right?
Yeah, they own that center. It's that situation that's creating much of what we're dealing with. Not the Macy's, but they're moving out because of financial issues.
Right, but just letting them know that enough residents are interested in it is a helpful thing.
Okay, I'll try to find it and forward it to you for both of them.
Yep, that'd be great, and then we'll follow up. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public wish to be heard? Please raise your hand. Yes, ma'am.
I just had a couple more questions. How much are you budgeting for Fenmore for this year?
Well, most of it's being reimbursed. Some of it's in legal, so we haven't done our legal budget yet, so I'm not sure how much is set aside for
In
legal
this year's,
aspects.
this year coming up for 2015, you don't have a
Correct.
figure yet?
Correct.
Do you know when you will have a figure?
Again, I welcome you to come on Tuesdays when we have our budget discussions. We go through all of our budgets. We have not done legal yet. So,
When is your budget due by? Is there a due date that you have to
end of
have the
March.
budget prepared?
Yeah, it's in March, we're usually done over.
we're usually done in advance.
So would you know, you'll know before March then how much you're projecting it'll cost us for this year?
Correct.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. And then,
I would like to stress, though, that, because I didn't see this, frankly, in my opinion, I shared this with members of the council in the press conference, around the cost, that we are pursuing both litigation as well as reimbursement from the state on many of these items. So we are
Yes.
aggressively trying to recoup the money. that
and I
we
did
spent.
notice there's certain things that you requested reimbursement for were denied. And what kind of follow-up can you do when that happens? Is there some kind of an appeal process, or is it just kind of at their, their
Just-
pleasure, what they
Well,
decide?
ultimately, it's up to them in many aspects.
Is there legal,
Pardon me?
can you sue them if you would have to expend
I
this
don't
and
believe
then
we're
they?
entailed to sue them, so that's
So
the
it's
scenario.
basically they decide whether they should pay or not, and we don't have any,
We're not going to give up pushing.
The township is actively suing DEP for damages.
you're suing
SEP.
SEC.
SEP for damages, and in fact, the municipal summonses, I don't know if you've been here in the past, but I've
Yeah.
reported on 2 separate occasions that both sets of summonses that were issued and tried at the municipal court level for nuisance violations of the township's ordinances, the SEP was found guilty, and in fact has been issued fines in upwards of $56,000.
Yeah,
Have they paid those fines?
Those haven't been offset yet. I believe those.
Some of them-
Some
of
of
them-
the fines.
Some of them have, but they're on appeal.
And the problem is that that's just a drop in the bucket to what the expenses are.
But that doesn't
and-
include the civil action that we have.
Which is ongoing.
Against them in addition-
56,000,
in addition to that.
it's not a drop, it's not nowhere near covering it, but it's
Well,
not
compared to
a
the
drop.
expenditures, I mean,
Without
it's
question.
not,
Because now a lot of our expenses are being reimbursed, all the monitoring and things like that. So the work they directly do for us as professionals, we still have to pay for, but a lot of the monitoring ongoing aspects are covered by the state of New Jersey.
right, and then I was gonna ask about the status of the lawsuits, because if you are going, like SEP, isn't there likelihood, have they declared bankruptcy, or is that?
They
a
haven't.
Because if you get a
On a
judgment, is it gonna be an enforceable
On a
judgment?
procedural ground, we've had their complaint against the township and the officials dismissed. But it'll be, I'm pretty confident that it'll be reinstated once they provide us with discovery. We're in the discovery
Please
process.
repeat that, Mr. Harris.
Sure. Right now, we're in the discovery process of this case.
The part about the,
Okay. Let me explain. Right now, we're in the discovery process in this case. And during that process, each side gets to ask the other side questions and request documents. SCP has asked them of us, and we've asked them of them. If either party fails to provide the documentation or the answers to the questions within a specific period of time that's allocated by the court, the party that doesn't receive the response can file a motion to dismiss the individual's complaint because they're not cooperating. SEP had failed to provide us with the documentation. We gave them an extension of time to provide it to us. They failed to provide it to us again, so we filed a necessary motion to dismiss their case. The court granted that motion 2 weeks ago, I think.
with prejudice?
No, without prejudice. They grant, and it's routine. What a court does is they grant the motion without prejudice and subject to the right of the other party to ask for their pleading to be reinstated once they submit their discovery. We have since received discovery from SEP, but it came in just boxes, wasn't sorted into responses that we requested. So right now we're trying to figure out whether or not we'll oppose their motion to have their complaint reinstated or not, depending on how that works out. So it's ongoing, and it will continue to be ongoing for quite some time, because there's a lot of documentation, there's a lot of information, and there's multiple parties. Depositions have been taking place. The state has pretty much taken the lead on the depositions that have been taken so far. SCP has had a couple of depositions, but at this point, their case is dismissed, subject to being reinstated once they comply with the discovery request.
Right, so you don't have any idea then when this will all finally come to
No, I don't.
any ballpark?
It's like any litigation,
Feeling.
you just have,
I mean, you're
It's
talking
too
years,
many
is that what
variables.
you're thinking, years before it actually is
If-
heard?
well, I do not anticipate that it'll be this year, but it might be next year.
Okay, and I just had one other quick question, because you were talking about the Fenimore budget and that or about taxes, that you haven't raised taxes, and there was through belt tightening. Are there any anticipated job loss or loss of services because of expenditures for Fenimore?
No, there's no correlation between Fenimore expenses and any loss of services or anything like that for Roxbury Township.
Is there any anticipated, you mentioned belt tightening, what exactly were you talking about? With
We
belt
can-
tightening,
We are a very scrutinized operation and will continue to be so. I encourage you to come to the budget meetings and you can see it in its process. Roxbury Township is an extremely well-run township because of our financial people, mayor and council, which is why we recently had a bond upgrade, even with all of this going up from standard and Poor's.
our financial situation's pretty strong because of a lot of what we've done. We've eliminated, we don't authorize any new debt anymore. We've been able to pay that off at an expedited rate, so we've been able to save funds along the way just using those, and will be pay-as-you-go completely in about another 3 years.
okay, thank
And
you.
another, all municipal, obligation debt, general obligation debt would be eliminated. Sewer enterprises are a separate thing. They're not operated by the town, townwide.
Okay, but our taxes aren't going up, is what you're saying?
I don't know if they're going up or not yet this year.
I thought I heard somebody say that.
No, I think he was saying
2 years ago.
2 years ago, it
2030
went up 0. Last
It
year,
was less than 2%.
less than 2%. We haven't even
Right,
gone
yeah,
up to,
'cause I
we haven't even gone up to
remember
cap what we're allowed to go up.
Right.
Like a lot of towns go up to what they're allowed to when they pass the cap law, 2%. Most schools do, most towns do. We have not done it once.
In fact, you don't need to come to the meetings because I know how busy, but if you go online, you'll see all the budget presentations and all the information as well too. And everything the mayor has just gone over with you is online. It's in a PowerPoint presentation, very easily interpreted. Okay.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Laurel Whitney again. Mr. Rex, I have heard that you're very efficient and very good at your job. I just found it unusual that you wouldn't return emails for several weeks. And if you're waiting for information, I've been in business myself for many years. If I don't have the information, I say, sorry, I don't have the information. As soon as I get it, I'll get it to you. Have you been advised not to return emails by any legal counsel?
I make my own decisions, so in light of the responses, but sometimes, like I indicate, most everybody who's emailing me also has an ability to call me as well. So again, I prefer that as a follow-up because it allows for better.
I don't think we're talking about a large number of emails here.
No, we're talking about from three or four separate people have emailed me, but we're not talking hundreds or anything like that. No.
Yes, I think it's very generous that you gave your cell phone and your office
Yeah,
phone
you can
out.
always call me.
But
It's on the website and website.
a lot of people prefer email because they can refer back to it and have it in writing. So you have not been advised by any legal counsel or agency not to?
I think I already responded to that question. I make my own decisions in regards to responses.
I mean, I would also
Making
make,
decisions and being advised are two different things.
I can clarify that. I have not advised him.
Nor have I.
and I'd like to add that actually hundreds of emails have been responded to.
Thousands.
Over the years.
Oh, sure.
This has been going on, so.
That's why it's become a recent concern because there has been,
We were waiting for some quality information. And then we'll put it on the website and then everybody has access to that information.
It is clearly the practice to respond to emails.
Yes, that's what I assume. Even if you don't have the information, it's okay to say, I don't know yet. I'll get back to you when it's available. So that's why it sort of concerned me when there's been no response at all.
We've tried to, I'll follow up on it. Mayor and council does get copied on some of them, not all of them. We try not to do individual responses because it just muddies the water, so to speak. So we try to let Mr. Ratz, as essentially our CEO, answer. So we'll follow up on that. But like I said, I don't think we're talking about any large
No, we're
numbers.
talking about
I thought it was just a couple.
dozen.
Yeah, because I just know that having your cell phone ring at all day long, or it's enough you get the text messages for the alerts at night.
It's good communication.
Our staff, as well as people in Mr. Rath's office, for the last 3 years, they were volunteering to open the respite center at night, go down there. Even when nobody showed up, they went down there out of concern for the residents when we did have the gas on a regular basis. So kudos to Mr. Rath and our staff. Again, in many situations, if not all, they did that, the staff did that on their own time. They did not get reimbursement for that.
Yes, I know you're all very, very dedicated.
So-
I've only heard good things. But the lack of response recently is definitely of concern. And, it does raise the questions that possibly that has been advised by either legal or another government agency such as
Unless it's a
CCTV.
legal matter, that's the only time.
If it's informational,
It's the only time he would be advised not to, is when it's legal.
Or we will return your emails. There's no excuse. We'll return your emails to you in the future.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Anybody else in the public wish to be heard? Please raise your hand. Yes, sir.
I'm Carl, you guys know who I am.
Carl Panetta, just for the record.
Carl Panetta, just for the record, how's that? I wanted to ask, unless I heard it wrong, are we saying that one of the meters, all of the meters, some of the meters are not working correctly? Is that what I'm hearing you say? I have to ask that question because that leads into something else.
I personally only know of 2 that have had an issue recently, and things are being done to address it. Whenever there is an issue, they're being done to be addressed. It's not like there's no town-wide non-monitoring going on because they're all broken or anything like that. It's a constant.
And the meters are working, all the meters are working.
Working is different than are they providing the correct data. You can drive your car with 2 cylinders out, so that's different. So if the meters are working, but yet you have 2 that are not, like I tried to indicate before, what happens if you've got a guy on an operating table and the defib machine goes out? You got to have another defib machine right back of it, or one of those. Are we doing that? Because there are questions about some of those meters saying that, oh, it's a short duration. I heard what you said before. A short duration, that short duration means something. And to say that there's a truck running, or there's other people over here doing it.
It's exactly my point before, Carl, that we were trying not to say that. So we're working very diligently with the supplier of this unit.
You should have been doing that, though.
Please, we have. We've been asking for it, and all along, for the past many years, they've taken them offline to calibrate them. They've done a lot of different things to stay on top of it sometimes when nothing's going wrong, just because it's time to just get it done. They just took a unit offline last week to recalibrate. So it's an ongoing process. And yes, when we see that, and that's why we want to try to get a little more information before we put it out there, so we're not doing exactly what you said. We don't want to sit here saying, one time, whether we know it's factual or not, it was a truck went by, or one time it was, that's trying to.
So the person who's going to give you, the person who's going to give this committee or Mr. Ratz the information, they're going to go back in time. I don't know how far back, but they're going to go back in time and look at all the meters and the ones that spiked and spiked, because after you put that on a graph and you look at it, you'll see that maybe Rock 6 bouncing up and down a lot.
I don't know what we'll get in the past. We're trying to address it As it's going forward, we're trying to do exactly what you're talking about.
But Mr. Riley, we've been having this problem where we said it was supposed to be 10, 15, we feel that's a problem, and 20. Well, you have to go back. If you start now and say from now on, or whatever it was, 2 weeks ago, whatever you guys said, you don't have accurate data. You gotta go back. I didn't say a year, but you gotta go back 6 months and look at all that data, or 3 months. You can't say, well, we start now.
No, this has been going on for some time now, I don't know.
Okay, so what you're telling me is, so I understand, so what you're telling me is, you're gonna go back, and even though we see blips, big blips, you're gonna go back and you're gonna look at that data and say Rock 6 is up 35% of the time during 24-hour period, whatever it is. Same thing for the others. Now, if you just see it once, then maybe it's an anomaly, like you said before. But you have to look at that data because you don't know. I could have you having a heart attack right now, and I go home, I feel much better, and I had a heart attack. How do you know until you look at it? You don't.
And we are.
So one other question I have, or two more. When you guys do your minutes to your meetings, right, and you approve them, the questions that are on from the public, are they part of your minutes to your meeting?
Yeah, but it's not verbatim. Minutes are not verbatim, so.
Okay, the reason why I asked that is, Mr. Ratz, I've asked, and other people have as well, many, many, many times, and you can go back to your meeting minutes and look at it. What is coming out of the stack? And every time, it's the same thing, you tell me, or Mr. Riley tells me, I'll get back to you. Well, I don't know how you guys can approve the minutes, but it says to a person, not only me, there's others that have been here in the past, what's coming out of the stack, and you get back to us and say, I'll get back to you. You can't approve minutes like that when with a specific question of we want to know what's coming out. So, Mr. Raps, I'll give you another chance. What's coming out of that stack?
I don't know. I can tell you ask at every meeting, and we tell you the same thing every
No,
meeting.
you tell me you're going to get me an answer.
No, when
You
I
don't
tell
know.
Carl,
2 years now, you don't know?
That's not accurate, Carl.
Carl, what I...
Oh, I beg your pardon, Mr. Mayor. Check your meetings. I've been coming here for 2 years and asking that same question, and I keep getting the same answer. So, Mr. Rapp, you don't know.
We've requested the stack test.
That's correct.
The commissioner had agreed to do one when they put the new oxidizer in, as you know.
What good is that, the new oxidizer?
Mr. Panetta,
Okay.
I can't make them do things. They don't have to do that.
They don't.
They don't have to do
Environmental
that.
protection,
They
people's
do.
safety, you've said that
I'm
yourself.
just
They don't
telling
have to
you.
do it? They don't have to do it?
Correct.
Okay. Well, I
doesn't
have a
make me
real
happy
problem
that-
with
but
that, especially when that gentleman over there, who's the CEO, you said, doesn't know what's coming out of the stack.
I don't know either.
You don't have to, nobody knows.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public wish to be heard? Please raise your hand.
That's okay. I have to.
Bob Schultz, from Randolph. Is there a status in the lawsuit, Mr. Bucco?
I just gave it to you.
Yeah.
Did anything happen in discovery? Anything that can be shared or anything?
No, not necessarily. I mean, if you have a specific question that you know about, ask, I'll answer it.
I was just wondering,
No,
I know
they
it's
gave
all
you the update.
discovery, so.
The discovery's been ongoing. You know, they didn't provide it. We moved to dismiss the complaint. This motion was granted. Most likely, they will apply to have the case reinstated once their discovery is complete. And 90% of the time, judges agree to reinstate their case. So that's where we're
And
at.
then it'll continue on for however long it takes. Is there any updates on Hercules and what was going on there?
No, nothing happened there.
I was just curious. No development that's going to happen there. I mean, there was talk about
There
it.
was talk about the warehouse, which
Right.
we talked about, and a developer looking to do something with that. We had a public meeting here and shared our concerns.
Nothing since then?
Yeah, we shared our concerns with the developer if they wanted to go forward with something like that. We wanted to first have an assessment of the cleanup. We wanted work done at the interchange. it would have to be a redesign, because we're not gonna have trucks come into an interchange that's already difficult. So those are all things that we put on the record. The developer, I think he would love to move forward, but he's got a lot of work to do. You don't go find millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars to redo an intersection overnight. So until those types of things come into play, there's nothing on the table. So again, just
I hadn't heard anything.
preliminary discussions of some of what they'd like to do. That one particular developer, that's not even Hercules. They're not even, this is just a developer trying to find something to do there.
Right. Where's the Roxbury DPW site? Is that the one on?
By the recycling center.
Dale Avenue.
Dale Avenue.
Oh, on Dale Avenue, okay. I just had seen it in the minutes and I wasn't sure. So I saw that 3,000 yards of soil was moved from there to over at the Landing Road complex. So where'd that soil come from? Was that from DPW or?
Yeah, that's through the general excavation. It was all tested and whatnot in advance.
For the monitors, which Carl was mentioning, well, we all have. We know, or we certainly think, that other gases are coming out of the landfill. You had said, and we certainly know that the monitors pick up other gases, but we're not sure which ones, and I don't remember offhand as well. So can we get a list of those gases that it picks up?
I think it's on the website already, is it not?
I don't know.
No, it's not.
We can check into
We'll
it.
check on that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Check on that, huh?
But wouldn't it be prudent of the township to do their own air testing? I mean, there's various methods of doing air testing, especially when the spikes are going on. I mean, you can do a suma canister, you can do an air grab. It's not an extraordinary amount of time, and it would certainly, for instance, like Rock 6 or Rock 8, which have been getting, that's where seems a lot of the spikes have happened since they're
The items
closest.
we've been talking about is getting a handheld so we can do it ourselves right around it, as close as possible to the time it happens.
Yeah, the problem with the handheld is it's only doing hydrogen sulfide, or it's just doing total VOCs. You're not getting a true grab of air and seeing what is in it, versus a monitor like that. You don't get a list of 100 different.
I'll take a look at it. I don't know enough about that to answer you at this point in time.
Because we know there was formaldehyde coming out of there at one point.
Which is typical.
It was over 100 times.
Right, and it was 100 times over, the air limits of New Jersey. Nobody ever did any follow-up testing to that. The DEP, you guys, I mean, we're all concerned about the air. There's certainly, what I've seen, a lot of people that are having symptoms, whether it's breathing, whether it's eyes, and all seem to be near the landfill and when the wind is blowing that way. So something's going on, especially in the winter, because there is no allergies going on. I mean, in the spring, maybe you take that into consideration, but, or, get the DEP to do it. Or how about getting the DEP to do the stack test, which we've asked for the longest time, which still hasn't happened. Is there any update on the tax sale for Fenimore?
No.
No. Well, it went out for tax sale, and nobody bid on it. So.
Right, and you had to lead in 6 months, you can do something with it, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
If you wanted to.
But it was not purchased at a tax sale. The lien was not purchased at a
Right.
tax sale.
So is there plans for the township to take over?
No.
No.
You want to take it over, Bob? Okay.
Maybe, thanks.
We don't need it.
Okay.
Anything else?
Good.
Thanks. Anybody else in the public wish to be heard? Please raise your hand. Yes, sir.
Glenn Whitmore, 40 Garden Court in Succossana. I only have one question, and this is in regards to the going online to get the readings. Currently, you can only get them for the past 15 minutes, but in the past, you could get them for the past 24 hours. Why is that, and can we get it back to the past 24 hours?
You can if you go to 24.5 and you double click on the far right column. I believe you can still get to 24 hours. So try that.
There you go.
Okay.
If you need any technical assistance or anything, just reach out to Town Hall, and we'll try to answer your question if you can't figure it out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public wish to be heard, please raise your hand. Seeing none, we'll close the public portion. I know we have one executive session item. Fenimore.
For litigation? That's it.
No unions?
You know what, put 102 on there. And then
I think we're talking about it a few minutes here. Nothing major.
yeah, local 102.
It says.